15 accountants busted, but a poor delivery girl messes with a millionaire's signature at midnight. The clock struck midnight, ringing out through the empty streets like a sinister chime, as shadows danced across the pavement. In the heart of the city, a mystery unfolded that none could have foreseen. 15 accountants, all known for their impeccable reputations, were swept up in a scandal that would rip their lives apart. But tonight, hidden in the backdrop, was a delivery girl who would unwittingly throw a wrench into the Millionaire'S plans. Her name was MEIA, and at first glance, she was nothing more than a blur of creativity and caffeine behind the counter of a 24-hour diner. But on this fateful night, destiny had chosen her to pry open a door that was best left closed. As she whizzed down the street on her bike, the wind ripping through her hair, she had no idea of the secrets that lay ahead. Something felt off. The air prickled with unease. MEIA spotted the sprawling mansion looming ahead, its windows glimmering like eyes watching her approach. It was a fortress, an empire. She'd made countless deliveries there, but tonight felt different. A heaviness sat in her gut as she locked eyes with the black luxury car parked by the curb. Was something happening inside? With trembling hands, she unfolded the slip of paper. Her heart raced at the sight of the name on it: Adrian Blackwood, the city's most ruthless millionaire. The only thing more notorious than his wealth was the empire of secrecy he built around it. Rumors whispered about offshore accounts and shady dealings. As she bit her lip in anticipation, her senses sharpened. Everything was leading to this moment. That's when she heard a muffled argument echoing from the mansion, raising the hairs on her neck. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. MEIA hesitated, balancing that slip of paper like a ticking bomb in her hands. What was about to go down behind those golden gates? With a pounding heart, she pushed through the ornate gate just as the argument intensified. She peeked into the dimly lit parlor, her breath hitching as she caught sight of a furious Adrian and his 10 professional accountants, their faces twisted in anxiety, eyes darting nervously like trapped animals. The tension seeped into the room, it was electric, palpable. MEIA had stumbled into something far bigger than she could ever imagine. But the million-dollar question wasn't just what they were arguing about, it was why they seemed so frantic, and what it meant for her. As she clutched the paper closer, reality hit her like a freight train. An ordinary delivery girl had just walked into an extraordinary night that would change everything, and maybe even her life forever. What would happen next? MEIA's heart raced as she pressed her back against the cool marble of the mansion's alcove, her breath coming out in short, frantic puffs. Every word exchanged between Adrian Blackwood and his accountants felt like a loaded gun firing, echoing against her eardrums. "This is our last chance," Adrian barked, his voice sharp and tinged with desperation. "If we don't finalize this deal tonight, everything is at stake." She leaned in closer, a mix of fear and curiosity drawing her. They talked in hushed tones, darting glances toward the door like predators checking for outside threats. But what if they find out? One accountant stammered, his face pale as freshly fallen snow. "The documents, forget the documents. No one can know the truth." Adrian's words hung in the air, thick with dread. MEIA felt a chill wash over her. What truth? Could it be related to those offshore accounts everyone whispered about? She had to know. With shaking hands, she pulled out her phone, the glow lighting up her anxious face. Could this be her ticket to discovering something huge? But just as she was ready to document the scene, a piercing scream ripped through the stillness like a thunderclap. "Adrian!" A woman burst through the parlor door, frantic and wild-eyed. "You need to leave. Now." The shock etched on her face was enough to send MEIA-'s mind racing. This wasn't just an argument. It was a countdown to chaos. "What are you talking about, Lila?" Adrian snapped back, the edge in his tone sharpening the air between them. "There are people watching. They know too much." Her voice cracked, a mixture of fear and fervor that chilled MEIA to the bone. Watching the scene unfold, MEIA felt a lump in her throat. It was clear that the stakes weren't just high, they were deadly. MEIA-'s instinct urged her to run, to shout for help, but her feet felt rooted to the spot. Just then, the luxurious black car outside came to life, headlights piercing through the darkness like watchful eyes. A figure slipped out, shrouded in shadows, their movements smooth but dangerous. MEIA's instincts screamed at her to get away. "What do we do?" The accountant's voice was shaky. Everyone was terrified as time ticked on, anxiety mounting in the polished parlor. Adrian clenched his jaw, determination surfacing. "We finish this tonight. No matter the cost." He turned abruptly, and MEIA darted back, heart pounding in her chest. She had to escape before she was caught in this deadly web, but as she turned to leave, a movement in the corner of her eye caught her attention. There, peeking out from a stack of papers, was a familiar-looking document. A familiar signature. The very same one she'd been tasked to deliver tonight. She couldn't let it slip away. If she didn't collect that evidence, she might never uncover the truth. Just as she reached for it, the door swung open. All eyes shot toward her, shock and recognition mingling in the air. "You! What are you doing here?" Adrian's voice boomed, low and terrifying. MEIA froze, realizing she'd crossed the line into a world where shadows thrived. She could either face Adrian's wrath or flee into the night. But either decision would seal her fate. In that excruciating moment of choice, she heard the unmistakable click of a gun being cocked behind her. What had she gotten herself into? Was this the end or just the beginning of a deadly game? MEIA-'s heart thundered in her ears as the chilling sound of the gun cocking sent a rush of cold panic down her spine. She slowly turned to face the threat behind her, barely daring to breathe. There, barely illuminated by the flickering chandelier, stood a man with a gun aimed squarely at her, his face obscured but his intentions clear. "Get out of here, MEIA!" Lila shouted, her voice slicing through the tension like a knife. "You don't know what you're involved in." Adrian's face twisted in a mix of rage and fear, his composure slipping. "Get away from her!" he yelled, stepping toward her in a way that both terrified and compelled MEIA. MEIA-'s fingers brushed the document, every fiber of her being screaming at her to just grab it and run. But the gunman shifted lightly, adjusting his aim, as if he knew exactly what she was thinking. "Don't even think about it," he growled, his voice low and gravelly. "This isn't your fight." With adrenaline pumping, she weighed her options. Flee or stay? Find out the truth or risk her life? Those fleeting seconds stretched like hours. The tension in the air was suffocating. The accountants had retreated into the shadows, eyes wide, fear palpable, whispers bubbling between them as they silently debated their next move. "Adrian, why are you doing this? What have you gotten yourself into?" Lila's words were frantic, almost desperate, as if she understood the peril far better than MEIA did. His demeanor shifted, the mask of power cracking. "Lila, just trust me." Adrian barked, his voice breaking. "I can fix this." The gunman's glare sharpened. "No, you can't. It's too late for that." In that moment, everything spiraled. Adrian reached for something in his pocket. A slim flash of metal caught the light, and MEIA-'s eyes widened. "Get down!" she shouted, adrenaline sharpening her instincts. She dove to the ground just as a gunshot rang out, echoing gruesomely in the opulent space, glass shattered, and a bullet zipped past her, just missing her shoulder. Chaos erupted. The accountant screamed, scrambling for cover. Adrian cursed, his focus shifting from Mia to the gunman. In a matter of seconds, the parlor transformed from a haven of luxury to a battlefield, the stakes turning lethal, rolling onto her back. Mia's breath came in shallow gasps as she glanced up. The gunman was on the move, sidestepping Adrian's grasp as they both reached for the same gun now lying on the marble floor. "Run!" Lila screamed, eyes wide, frantically gesturing toward the door. Mia didn't think. She bolted from her spot, instincts taking over. With her heart in her throat, she darted toward the exit, but as she did, another figure entered the parlor, blocking her path. A tall, imposing man with an unyielding expression drawn tight across his features. "Where do you think you're going?" he bellowed, eyes locking onto hers with relentless intensity. Mia skidded to a halt, panic surging through her like wildfire. She could see the predicament now, trapped between a gunman and a fresh threat. The room pulsed with chaos, and she was caught in the eye of the storm. Suddenly, Adrian's voice soared above the chaos. "Mia, get the evidence. It's the only way to end this." The words hit her like a slap. What evidence? The document. But could she risk it all? As the turmoil swirled around her, Mia's mind raced. She could run, escape this nightmare, or seize her chance to expose the truth. Would she have the courage to confront the shadows? With the fate of her life looming heavily, Mia seized a moment of resolve. What would become of her in this wavering darkness? And over it all, a single question lingered: was she ready to enter the unknown? Mia's heart pounded, a vicious drum echoing in her ears, drowning out the chaos around her. Every instinct screamed for her to flee, but Adrian's frantic call pierced through her terror, igniting a fire of determination. The dark figure looming ahead wasn't just a barrier, he was a reminder of everything at stake. Her eyes darted to Adrian, who was struggling with the gunman. There was desperation etched across his features, a glimpse of the man she thought she knew. What had he done? What had Lila meant? The gunman, now focused on Adrian, had lowered his weapon slightly, engulfed in a struggle fueled by desperation and rage. But that momentous pause was filled with potential energy, like a coiled spring ready to unleash chaos anew. "Mia, the document!" Adrian yelled again, his voice laced with urgency. She couldn't ignore it. It was now or never. With a burst of resolve, Mia surged past the imposing man blocking her escape. She had just a few steps to the desk where she spotted the folder, her fingers trembling as she grabbed it from beneath a cascade of fallen papers. The weight of it seemed light, yet her heart felt like it was dragging her down. "Stop her!" the gunman barked, now aware of her intention. Instinct and sheer adrenaline propelled Mia forward, but the imposing man lunged toward her, arms outstretched to pull her back. She ducked, barely managing to evade him, and bolted into the crowded parlor. With the folder clutched tightly against her chest, she scanned the room in a split-second overview. Panicked accountants scattered, their cries echoing like alarms. In the midst of the horror, fear clashed with a newfound bravery. Then came a booming voice, deep and steady. "You're making a grave mistake." It was the fresh threat, his eyes narrowing in on Mia, a predator locking onto its prey. "I have to know," she whispered to herself, though the words barely scraped past her lips over the cacophony. Adrian had managed to wrest the gun from the gunman, but the fight wasn't over. The other man had repositioned himself, a flurry of violence waiting to erupt. Each second stretched, every move a gamble. Mia turned, desperate to find an escape route. The entrance loomed like a mirage, and she dashed toward it, adrenaline igniting the fire of survival in her veins. But as she neared the threshold, the grandeur of the room turned against her. The chandelier bobbed precariously above, reflecting shards of light and dark, a warning of instability to come. Behind her, a loud crash shattered the tension, glass and crystal exploding as the gunman lost his footing, the fight suddenly turning chaotic. "Get out! Now!" Lila's raspy voice rang out, her presence re-emerging amid the madness like a beacon of hope. Mia spun back to see Lila entangled in a chaotic struggle, desperate yet commanding. Could they truly overcome this chaos? Just then, she caught sight of an envelope slipping out of the folder, slipping away like all her choices. It floated to the ground, kissed by a glimmer of light before disappearing among the shattered debris. No! She screamed, realizing that whatever was contained within that document was slipping away, just like her shot at uncovering the truth. "I want to let you destroy me," she declared, turning to confront the looming figure blocking her path. In that very moment, the unexpected happened. A loud bang echoed, followed by a gasp from the group. There was something in the air, something shifting. Mia froze, unsure if she had heard right or imagined it in the midst of chaos. Voices raised, bodies moved, and shadows warped around her. And just like that, the question shattered her resolve. The truth was buried beneath layers of deceit and gunfire. But could she uncover it and escape with her life intact? The door stood ajar, freedom beckoning, yet danger lurked just behind her. Would she dare to push through the chaos? As her breath caught in her throat, she faced her swirling storm of uncertainty, her heart whispering one final plea: what awaits on the other side? Mia's instincts kicked in as she felt the thick tension in the air, a prelude to something cataclysmic. The loud bang that had echoed just moments ago lingered in her mind, filling her with dread. She spun on her heel, eyes wide, not knowing where to go, panic surging through her veins. In that moment, she caught a glimpse of Lila's struggle with the gunman. The two were locked in a frantic dance, grappling with desperation etched on their faces, their minds racing through options that dwindled like the seconds on a clock. Lila's eyes met hers briefly, a flame of unspoken words flickering between them. Then chaos erupted anew. The gunman found his grip, tossing Lila aside like a ragdoll. The room gasped collectively, an ocean of fear washing over the crowd. Adrian scrambled toward Mia, the gun briefly forgotten, but she felt a weight in his expression, a warning that spoke volumes. "Mia, we need to go," Adrian urged, his voice breaking through the curtain of her fear. "Wait. The document," she shouted back, her heart torn between the urgency of escape and the haunting curiosity of the folder now missing bits of its contents. Adrian hesitated, fear and anger flashing across his face. "It's not worth it. We live to fight another day." But the document had become her lifeline. It was more than ink and paper, it was a solitary thread that led to exploding truths. She felt the pull of her choices, each weighing her down like a chain. "Get to safety." Lila's voice rang through, clearer this time. "I can hold him off." Adrian reached for Mia's hand, his grip tightening, urging her to move. But before she could blink, the room erupted into a violent tableau. The gunman swung his weapon, scattering accountants like fallen leaves. The sound of heavy thuds and cries filled the parlor, an explosive cocktail of confusion and fear. "Mia!" Adrian shouted again, his eyes wide with panic. She hesitated, glancing once more at Lila, who had managed to grapple her way to regain control. Time felt slippery, moments slipping past her like wisps of smoke. The bottom of her stomach dropped. There was something she needed to understand, something so crucial that it tied her fate to this very moment. Suddenly, a thought struck her. Maybe perhaps the missing pages of the document held answers to questions she did not yet dare to voice. In that split second, the thread of her choice snapped tight. She propelled herself back toward the chaos enveloping the scattered papers. "Mia, no!" Adrian shouted, but the sound faded behind the escalating pandemonium as she dove through the writhing mass of bodies toward the ground zero of disaster. The folder was here somewhere. There had to be something left to save. The papers were strewn across the tiled floor, illuminated in patches by flickering chandeliers. She swept her hand desperately across the jagged edges of the wreckage, her fingertips grazing something, a corner of the envelope, crumpled but still there. Just then, a scream pierced the air, heart-stopping and raw. She glanced up to see the gunman, momentarily distracted, leveling his weapon elsewhere. In that volatile moment, the crowd shifted. Panic morphed into sheer terror, faces contorting in every shade of horror as they began to surge toward her. "Mia!" Adrian yelled behind her, charging through the chaos, but it was too late. She could feel the weight of uncertainty suffocating her, every muscle in her body screamed for escape. She had to choose, reclaim the moment or run to safety. Her gaze darted between the folder and Adrian, fear clawing through her gut. She could almost taste the truth just beyond her reach, but escape pulsed like a drum in her chest. What would she choose? Then, just as she gathered herself to flee, she heard a shout sharp and compelling. "Mia! It doesn't end here!" Lila yelled, eyes blazing, drawing attention to where the gunman had turned back. The world around her throbbed, echoing the last decision she had yet to make. Would she confront the storm or slip back into the safety of the shadows? A shiver danced along her spine as she felt reality closing in. Whatever awaited her on the other side of that door, it was bound to upend everything she thought she knew. The choice hung heavy in the air. What was she willing to sacrifice to uncover the truth? Adrenaline surged through Mia's veins, drowning out the chaos around her. Lila's voice tore through her thoughts, sharp as glass, demanding attention. The gunman was back, eyes wild, a predator hunting amidst all this fear. "Run!" Lila cried again, her body shifting in defensive stance, ready to shield them from the raw violence that was poised to erupt once more. Mia's legs felt heavy, tied down by indecision. She shot a glance at Adrian, whose face painted a picture of desperation. "I can't leave her!" Mia shouted, her voice barely piercing the noise. "There's nothing you can do." Adrian's panic ignited her own. "We have to go now." But the grip of urgency juxtaposed with the knowledge that Lila was risking everything for them gnawed at her conscience. The folder lay temptingly close, glinting under the uncertain light. The ink smudged, pages frayed, but within its grasp lay secrets promising to unveil a reality she couldn't ignore. She thought of what Lila had risked, of the friendship they had forged in storms and laughter. There was a lesson in loyalty ringing loud and clear. Did she abandon Lila now, in a moment so crucial? "Mia!" Adrian's voice shattered her resolve. "If we don't move now, we'll lose everything." Time folded, each second stretching out like an unending abyss. Every heartbeat thudded like a drum in her ears. She dove forward, reaching for the folder with trembling fingers. The chaos around her receded for just an instant, allowing clarity to seep through the confusion. Then, thunderous footsteps boomed, bringing her back to the moment. She glanced up. The gunman had turned, fury etched upon his face as he realized what Mia was doing. The weapon swung in her direction, danger humming in the air. "Mia, now!" Adrian shouted, his voice cracking under the weight of urgency. With an almost desperate resolve, she snatched the folder from the floor, pressing it against her chest, a shield as she bolted back toward Adrian. But the crowd swelled like a tidal wave, fear-driven chaos demanding her to follow its surge. Rushing past whispering terror, she felt a cold sweat cascade down her back. Adrian yanked her hand, pulling her toward a nearby exit, but Lila's defiant stance drew her back. "Lila!" Mia screamed, torn between the portal to safety and the friend standing firm. "Just go!" Lila shouted, amid the escalating chaos, as she squared off against the gunman. A shot rang out. The world spiraled, time shattering as the sound skated against the walls and wrapped around them like a vice. Screams morphed into cries, bodies pressed against one another, fear palpable. As dust swirled in the charged air, Mia felt herself being yanked backward, Adrian's grip fierce as he pulled her through the exit, away from the burgeoning horror inside. Yet, it wasn't over. The heavy thumps of police sirens wailed beyond the door. It was an omen, a promise of reckoning. "Did you get it?" Adrian asked, breathless, eyes wide with anticipation as he ushered her into the narrow alley behind the building, just far enough from the chaos. Mia clutched the crumpled folder tightly, her breaths quickening. "Yes, but..." She hesitated, uncertainty flooding her thoughts. What if? Listen, there's no time for what-ifs. We need to get out of here," he urged, glancing anxiously over her shoulder, but a nagging thought held her captive. What lay in that folder could change everything. As they rushed into the night, the truth loomed large, thrumming against her ribcage. In the distance, a new sound sliced through heavy footsteps, firm and unyielding, drawing closer. "Mia!" Adrian breathed, his voice dropping as the shadow of a figure loomed against the streetlight. Her heart sank. In that moment, she realized the danger was far from over. Everything was about to spiral out of control. "Adrian, we need to hide." She pulled him back into the darkness, the weight of the folder feeling like a lead anchor, precious and deadly all at once. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but the urgency of the impending confrontation raised one burning question in her mind: what would she face if she dared to uncover the truth within her grasp? And would she be ready for the fallout? Mia pressed herself against the cold, rough brick wall, heart racing against the stifling darkness. The footsteps were closing in, the rhythm a menacing drumbeat echoing in her ears. She glanced at Adrian, his eyes wide, glistening with fear. They were exposed. They still had the folder, but would it even matter? "Who is it?" she whispered, barely parting her lips, as if saying it aloud would somehow summon the figure stalking them. The dim streetlight cast an eerie glow, illuminating only the silhouette that grew more pronounced with each step. "I don't know, but we can't stick around to find out," Adrian replied, urgency choking his voice. The footsteps stopped abruptly, and a shadow fell directly in front of them, blocking their escape. Just as the moon peeked through restless clouds, a glimpse of a face emerged, harsh, lined with grit, but unmistakably familiar. "Mia." The voice carried an edge of disbelief. It was Caleb, the whirlwind of chaos that had rattled their lives before. "What are you doing here?" Mia stammered, her stomach twisting at the implications. "I followed you." His brow wrinkled with a mix of concern and accusation. "I heard you screaming. There's a storm brewing, and you shouldn't be caught in it. Have you lost your mind? We're getting hunted." Adrian interjected, panic lacing his tone. Caleb's gaze shifted, scanning the alley, his instincts kicking in. "We need to move. Now." With that command, Caleb ushered them further into the shadows. Mia's mind raced. They had no time for distractions, not with the folder still weighing her down. But a raw urgency flickered inside her, too. The truth whispered promises of salvation and peril. Should she even involve Caleb? His history with her had been complicated, fraught with betrayals and twists. The trio shuffled along worn cobblestones, Caleb leading the way, breaking the silence with low-footed determination. "There are houses up ahead," he said. "We can find a place to regroup. We need to know what you're carrying." Mia exchanged glances with Adrian. The weight of their secret felt heavier than the folder. "It's important," she finally said, her voice trembling slightly. "There's information about the people involved in all this." Caleb stopped, his eyes now locked on hers, piercing through the murkiness. "You're not just talking about the gunman, are you?" Mia swallowed hard, the truth pinching her throat. "No." Adrian leaned in, curiosity overtaking fear. "What have you gotten us into, Mia?" Before she could respond, a flashlight flickered at the alley entrance, its beams sweeping past them. "Damn it!" Caleb hissed, the tension infusing his voice. "We need to run." Adrian shouted as the light shone toward them. They took off, adrenaline fueling their flight. Each step echoed wildly, and shadows danced menacingly beside them. As they rounded a corner, Mia felt the folder slipping from her grip. She clutched it tighter, refusing to let go of the fragile hope tightly wound within its pages, but the footsteps behind them became frantic as shouts shattered the night. The forces chasing them were relentless, and Mia's heart thundered in response. She couldn't help but think of Lila and how she'd put her life on the line. That sacrifice burned deep. "Where do we go?" Adrian gasped, breathless as they reached a dead end. Caleb's eyes darted, his mind racing like a wild horse. There he pointed to a vent leading into the basement of an unknown building. "Are you serious?" Adrian's disbelief was palpable. "No time to argue." Caleb shot back, and they scrambled into the cramped space. As they descended into darkness, the sounds above became muffled. The flashlight beam wrapped around their corner, but soon faded away into the distance. They were briefly safe, yet the quiet felt heavy. "Now what?" MEIA whispered, heart still pounding. Caleb pulled out his phone, the screen illuminating his face. "We figure this out. But whatever's in that folder, we need to be ready for the consequences. They will come for us." As MEIA's heartbeat steadied, she finally lifted the folder, feeling its weight again. She flicked it open, pages trembling in her hands. A moment of suspended disbelief filled the air. Was she truly ready to unravel the dangers awaiting them? And in that heavy silence, she saw the ink was stained with more than just paper. What was she about to uncover? What if bringing this truth to light could cost them everything or save them all? An icy shiver ran down her spine just as a distant sound echoed from the entrance above. The rattle of boots followed by a voice familiar and commanding drifted down the hall. "MEIA. I know you're down there." The air thickened with dread. Who was it? And what would they do next? MEIA's breath caught in her throat, the flicker of hope she felt mere moments ago extinguished in a wave of dread. The voice was unmistakable, Mitchell, the billionaire with a reputation as sharp as his tailored suits. He had no love lost for her or Adrian. His towering figure loomed in the very fabric of their lives, and now it seemed he was on their trail again. Caleb's expression shifted to focus as panic surged through MEIA. "What do we do?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "We can't let him find us," Caleb replied, his brow knit with tension. "Stay low and quiet." They crouched further into the dark confines of the basement, the musty air thickening around them. With silence, they strained to hear Mitchell's footsteps, the menacing rhythm echoing through the passage. "Check the perimeter." Mitchell's voice boomed, a chilling order directed at his men. "I want them found. Now." The echo of clattered boots rang through the basement, a stark reminder of the danger they faced. Adrian's eyes darted around wildly, searching for an escape. The reality hung heavy in the air. They weren't just hiding from any threat, they were up against a man whose influence could shatter their lives. "I saw them head this way." A voice called out from the entrance, another voice responding with a mocking eagerness. "Looks like they've crawled into a rat hole. Check the vents." MEIA's heart raced. The thought of being cornered felt suffocating. "We can't let them find us," she urged, gripping the folder like a lifeline. Caleb nodded, his tension palpable. "We need a plan and fast, otherwise, we're trapped." "In that folder is the key," MEIA whispered, her hands shaking with the weight of their current situation. "But it's also the reason they'll hunt us to the ends of the earth." Adrian leaned closer, urgency boiling in his voice. "What's in there? What did you uncover?" The muffled sound of footsteps moved closer, and MEIA felt the walls closing in. "It's evidence, stuff that could ruin him. But not just him, it implicates others. Powerful people." Adrian exhaled sharply. "We have to destroy it, then." "No." The word slipped from MEIA's lips before she could stop herself. "If we destroy it, we're giving up our only chance to fight back." Before another word passed, the basement door creaked open, shafts of light spilling into their hiding place. MEIA pressed against the cold wall, instinctively holding her breath. She could see silhouettes moving above, scanning the area. "Keep an eye out, boys." Mitchell's voice was smug, echoing eerily across the basement. "They're in here somewhere." The shadows moved slowly, searching every nook and cranny. It felt like a nightmare unfolding as Mia's heart thrummed loudly against her chest. Suddenly, a thud came from the far corner of the basement. "Over there!" someone shouted, the sound sending a jolt through Mia. "Out!" Caleb's voice was urgent, fierce. He motioned down another vent, leading deeper into darkness. "Go, now!" Adrian shot a defiant look at Mia. "We can't just run. We need a plan. No time for plans." Caleb barked. "We either find a way out, or we get caught and end up in a lot worse than death." Mia hesitated, her heart pounding with conflict. "Follow me," she finally shouted, realizing the weight of her decision. Trust was thin, but they had no other choice. They scrambled into the vent, crawling through tight spaces while breathing in the scent of engineered despair. As they moved, the shaking of the walls amplified her anger. Maybe this time they could fight back. Maybe uncovering the truth would lead them toward not just survival, but a revenge that felt long overdue. But a familiar sensation crept up her spine. Doubt. Could they trust Caleb? Just when hope glittered faintly at the end of the tunnel, a pulse-pounding voice reached them. "Mia! You can't run forever. I'll find you." Her breath quickened, panic pooling in her stomach. Who could she trust? And as their crawl led them further into the unknown, an uncomfortable truth slammed into her with the force of a reckless wave. Betrayal could come from any direction, especially when the stakes were this high. Ahead, darkness stretched out like a black void, shaping itself into the outline of their uncertain fate. What awaited them at the end of the tunnel? Would the truth really set them free, or would it bind them tighter to a terrifying consequence waiting just out of reach? Mia felt the rush of cold air as they crawled deeper into the vent, darkness pressing in from all sides. The metallic taste of fear lingered on her tongue. What if Mitchell's men found them? The thought made her stomach churn. She stubbornly clutched the folder to her chest, taking solace in its weight, a small reminder of the power it could wield. "Keep moving," Caleb hissed, urgency sparking in his voice. "We need to get to the far side. If we can get out of here, we can figure out what to do next." Adrian grunted as he pushed forward, sliding through the narrow space. "What if don't think?" Caleb interrupted, his tone sharp. "Just move." As they inched along, tears pricked at the corners of Mia's eyes. Trust was already fragile, and now it felt like a thread about to snap. She could sense the tension radiating between them, and it was suffocating. Behind them, neither the footsteps nor Mitchell's voice faded. Instead, they lingered, an ever-looming cloud of dread hanging over their heads. Suddenly, a jolt ran through the vent, an alarming sound echoing from behind them as someone scuffled over the grates. "It's here!" a man shouted. "They can't have gone far." Mia's heart raced as fear surged through her body like wildfire. "Keep going," she whispered urgently. They pushed on, adrenaline coursing in their veins, desperate to escape. Each breath amplified the noise of their movement against the metal, and Mia's heart hammered in rhythm to the chaos enveloping them. Forward, further into the void, where the shadows twisted and turned, but then, another chilling thought crept into her mind. Were they running toward safety or further into the trap? "Stop!" Caleb's sudden command forced them to freeze for a moment, the air crackling with tension. "Did you hear that?" Mia strained to listen, squinting through the darkness. Footsteps were approaching, but this time they sounded different, more deliberate. The metallic scrape of boots echoed, distinct and purposeful. A beam of light sliced through the vent towards them, making Mia's breath hitch. "They're almost here. Quick, this way." Adrian pointed toward a nearby junction, and without waiting for another second, they ducked into a side shaft. The passage was even narrower, and the air was stale, each breath a struggle. Mia's mind reeled. How had it come to this? One moment, she was fighting for justice, and now she was about to become a hunted animal. They crawled on, only to realize that the darkness was claustrophobic. It felt alive, tightening around them. Was it the fear, or was it something worse? Finally, they reached a small opening, light filtering through the vent. They could hear muffled voices beyond the barrier. Exchanging glances, they knew they had to take a risk. "Do you really think they've lost us?" Adrian whispered, hope mixed with doubt. "Not if they're good at their job," Caleb replied, too flatly. MEIA-'s pulse increased. "We can't stay here." With a deep breath, she pushed the grate open with one swift motion. Light flooded their cramped sanctuary, illuminating a dimly lit back hallway. The air smelled cleaner, but the moment felt eerily silent. Just as they slipped out, a hand grabbed MEIA-'s arm. "Looking for something?" MEIA whipped around to find a man standing there, a dark silhouette against the light, a smirk playing on his lips. The world came crashing back in, and her heart sank. Who was this new player in the game? "Mitchell sent me," the man said coolly, eyeing them with predatory interest. "And you've made a big mistake hiding from us." The news struck like a blow. And as his grip tightened, MEIA felt her entire fate hanging by a thread. Now, choices loomed before her once again. Did they fight? Or did they beg for mercy? Both paths seemed just as treacherous. "Let them go," a familiar voice loomed from behind, sending a shockwave through MEIA-'s body. "Caleb?" She whispered under her breath, but was he actually here to help them, or would he betray her when she least expected it? She had to know. Because the choices they faced now would redefine everything, especially when the truth was still waiting to be discovered. As the man's smirk deepened and Caleb stood firm, MEIA felt a previously buried strength surge back through her veins. They needed to stand together. But could they? And with that thought echoing in her mind, she braced herself for whatever would come next, the stakes impossibly high and the outcome dangerously uncertain. Would trust prevail, or was someone about to pay the price? MEIA's breath was coming in quick gasps as she faced the man who had been sent by Mitchell. Every instinct in her screamed to run, but she couldn't. She had come too far. She could sense Caleb's presence behind her, a steadying force in this storm of chaos, but doubt lived in the pit of her stomach. The man before them was a shadowy figure of intimidation, his expression twisted with amusement as if he were enjoying the game they were trapped in. "What a fascinating little reunion this is," he drawled, his voice smooth as silk but laced with menace. "You really thought you could escape?" MEIA felt all eyes on her, the weight of their gazes heavy, urgent. "What do you want?" She shot back, her voice trembling despite her attempt to sound firm. The folder lay clutched tightly against her chest, reminding her of everything at stake. That he chuckled darkly, a chilling sound. "Oh, I think you know exactly what I want. Hand over the folder, and perhaps we can save ourselves some trouble." Her instincts flashed with urgency. She glanced at Caleb, who remained poised and still. MEIA's heart raced as she weighed her options. "You don't get it. This could destroy everything you care about," she said defiantly, hoping to find some leverage amidst the tangled web they were wrapped in. "Think I care?" The man smirked, stepping closer. "You're out of your depth, little girl." Before MEIA could respond, Caleb's voice boomed. "Let her go." It was simple, yet it carried an unyielding authority. The man turned his attention to Caleb, but MEIA saw the flash of uncertainty in his eyes. "You're a fool to think you can challenge me," he stated, stepping forward with a predatory grace. The tension in the air crackled between them. "You underestimate what we're willing to fight for," Caleb shot back, a storm brewing in his voice. MEIA's resolve solidified. "You don't want this fight," she interjected, raising the folder higher. "Ignorance is bliss, but you want to know what's inside this. Keep underestimating us, and you'll learn the hard way." She didn't know where this courage came from, but it surged through her like a wave. The man chuckled again but faltered. "You think you're in control here?" He reached for his pocket, but before he could pull out a weapon, Caleb lunged forward, propelling himself into the man. A struggle erupted, the sound of fists colliding echoing off the walls. Run! Caleb shouted at Mia. She needed no further urging. She pivoted and sprinted down the light-streaked hallway, adrenaline pushing her forward as panic fueled her every step. She could hear the sounds of the fight exploding behind her, grunting, crashing bodies. "Adrian!" she yelled, desperately hoping he was close. "We have to get out of here." Adrian appeared around the corner, eyes wild with urgency. "This way!" he shouted, and they charged through an emergency exit at the end of the hallway. Mia didn't dare look back. She could hear the shouts and scuffles behind them, each sound tightening the knot in her stomach. They emerged outside, bathed in a harsh white light, gasping against the cool night air. The chaos of the mansion faded behind as they found themselves amidst a quiet alley. "You okay?" Adrian asked, breathless but alert. "I think so," Mia panted, glancing anxiously at Caleb, who finally burst through the exit, grim-faced but determined. "Where to now?" Caleb asked, eyes scanning the area for threats. "We can't stay here," Adrian urged. "We need a plan to expose everything." Mia held the folder tightly, feeling the secrets it contained pulse against her chest. "We need a secure place to unravel all this. We have names and documents, everything we need." Caleb nodded grimly. "But we have to act fast. Mitchell won't sit idle for long." Adrenaline coursing through her veins, Mia felt her purpose crystallize. "Let South go to my place. It's the only safe space I know right now." Without waiting for another word, they took off down the alley, hearts pounding, minds racing. The city was a blur as they moved through illuminated streets and shadowed corners, the weight of the folder grounding Mia as her resolve only strengthened. They reached her small apartment and ducked inside. Quickly bolting the door behind them, Mia took a deep breath, the quiet suffocating yet comforting. "Okay, let us see what we've got," she said, setting the folder down on the kitchen table. As she peeled back the pages, the truth lay in front of them like an unwrapped gift. Names flashed before her eyes: accounting firms, offshore accounts, and connections to high-profile individuals that had orchestrated a web of deceit. Betrayal twisted in every corner, and Mia realized this was only the beginning. Looming over them was not just the threat of Mitchell but the reality of how deep the corruption ran. "We have to go public with this," Adrian stated, his brow furrowed in determination. Mia nodded, feeling her heart swell with purpose. "I won't back down. Not now." The camaraderie in the room shifted, their fear morphing into a bond forged through fire. They weren't just people caught in a game, they were allies, each willing to risk it all for the truth. "We rise together, or not at all," Caleb added, his voice firm with conviction. Mia locked eyes with both of them, feeling a fierce solidarity igniting. "Let us end this," she whispered fiercely, pressing her palm against the stack of documents. They had turned the tides, they weren't just fleeing anymore, they were warriors ready to face the storm ahead. A storm that could change everything. As the dawn began to break outside, so did a new chapter of possibilities. They wouldn't just expose Mitchell. They would bring light to the layers of darkness surrounding them. No matter the cost, they would fight. Because the truth was worth every ounce of courage they could muster. And Mia, that ordinary delivery girl, was finally ready to step into the extraordinary. The end, for now. But remember, this is just the beginning of their journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.